media, outward-facing type things. So we have our speaker today, and I'll tell you a little bit about him before he comes up. His name is Jim Chapman, and many of you in the room know Jim and have come specifically because Jim is here, and we so appreciate that. Jim is the sales account manager of the Louisiana Territory for Farrell-Calhoun Paint Company, which is a family-owned and run regional paint manufacturing company based in Memphis with over 100-year history. In 2017, Jim launched Chapman's Paint Place podcast, and it's an effort to strategically market his unique individual personality and his love for paint coatings and design industry. In 2018, he formed Chapman Consulting, and in 2019, Insight Media Services, in an effort to provide assistance to businesses who are struggling to grasp social media branding, as well as to provide marketing training and influencing service to local businesses. Jim is the past president of the Business Boomers chapter of the Business Networking International, BNI, and is currently on the board of directors for IT Trade Exchange. He's also a current member of the 2020 graduating class of Leadership Livingston through the Livingston Parish Chamber of Commerce, and currently in the process of authoring his very first book, which is titled Rep the Product, Sell Yourself, Mastering the #1 Principle to Professional Sales Success Through Personal Branding. So Jim, we are thrilled to have you here. Please come up and take it away.
Okay, so that's all the good things about me. I don't have anything great to say past that, but I'll try. So, as she said, I am currently a sales rep for Farrell-Calhoun. I have been there 21 years now. It's where I got my start in the paint business. It's where I learned exactly how to market myself because I was kind of forced to. When I talk to groups like this, I try to tell them that I come from a place where I did not have a marketing machine behind me. We're a company in Farrell-Calhoun Paint that basically we make the best paint money can buy, but the issue is we don't like to spend money. We like to put it all back into the paint. They're a debt-free company, and relative to family-owned companies, they are large. They have a revenue of about $100 million. We're in 9 states. But compared to our competition, we are like a thorn in their side. These are billion-dollar machines. So when I started, I had to come up with a good way to promote myself, to basically just generate my own advertising. Along the way, I learned a bunch of things that every sales book I ever read didn't really talk about. And I was approached about a year ago to write a book on my philosophy of selling. But all those philosophies are good. I encourage education and all those sorts of things. So that's what led me to do this. As I bring you through this little journey, I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of tips on promoting yourself with personal branding. Personal branding is probably the key to success. Every one of us in this room, whether you work for Farrell-Calhoun Paint or whether you work for Key Lending Solutions, you work for yourself. Make no mistake about it. You are your own brand, and sometimes that can make or break you. So we'll just kind of go through this. Eleanor Roosevelt, another great lady, said, "I am who I am today because of the choices I made yesterday." So I'm gonna bring you on a little journey. It's 2005, Katrina hit. I was a manager right up the road at Perkins Road, Farrell-Calhoun Paint, and the owner of my company approached me and he said, "Look, we're going to go ahead and let go of the sales rep we have. He's just underperforming, had been doing so for years, and you think he can sell?" And I said, "Yeah," because I knew it was a promotion. I knew it was extra money, and I was kind of up for the challenge. And he said, "Okay, go sell." And he kind of threw me out there. And I had all the paint knowledge in the world. I'd already been in the business about 5 years. But I had no idea what I was getting into, because when I would go out there, I'm thinking everybody knows who Farrell-Calhoun Paint is. I go to these places and they're looking at me like I have 3 heads or something when I say I work for Farrell-Calhoun Paint. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle for several years. And I was thinking the whole time, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way that I can get my name out there without getting yelled at by the owner that I spent too much money on advertising this month. So I started riding through those neighborhoods like I do, looking for ladders, I used to call it. And I would see this. And I was like, So I would see this realtor right here, and I would see her picture, and then I would see her company down there. And I would see this lending lady right here, and I would see her picture, and I would see her company there, and it would be a flyer inside a new residential home. And I would see all these signs, other signs as well. And it clicked. It was like that light bulb right there went off. And it basically told me, those people are not just selling CJ Brown, they're not just selling Key Lending Solutions, they're selling Tracy. You know, you can get a loan pretty much anywhere. You might could find a loan with the same rate Tracy could get you. But guess what you can't get anywhere else? You can't get Tracy. And so Tracy figured this out a long time ago. Realtors have figured this out a long time ago for the most part. It's not all about the company you work for. Really, you represent their product, but you sell you. You are anybody can get paint. Now, do I have the best paint? Absolutely, no doubt about it. But you can get paint other places, and everybody has a good, better, and best. So I have to find a way to separate Jim Chapman from everybody else. You're not going to get me anywhere. So I started thinking about that, and it was hard. Just like Tom Hanks said, your favorite movie, it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. It's the hard that makes it great. Absolutely true. There were many times during this process of me learning how to market myself that I really thought maybe I'm just wasting my time. You know, it's a lot of work. I'm not out there selling paint. I felt like if I was anywhere, like a B&I, for example, a room like this, I'm not really selling, but I was. And that's what I was missing. So I figured that out, and I started to think, you know, I need to find something that kind of separates me. And that is the key. When you're personal branding yourself, you've got to figure out with you, what is it about you? What is it about all of you that is different than they can get anywhere else, meaning your clients, customers? What is it that you do that no one else will do? Or that you do that is just above and beyond where they get anywhere else? I call it your separation. It's what separates you. So how do you find that? Well, you listen. You listen to your clients. You listen to your customers. You listen to your friends. I don't want to walk up to Tracy and say, Tracy, what separates me? Because she's going to be nice. She's going to embellish it. She's, you know, it may not be what I'm looking for. So what I did was I started listening. And when I would talk to customers, I'll tell you a quick story. The owner, I sell to Alvarez Construction, a large residential builder. The owner of my company and I had a meeting with Alvarez Construction to discuss some things. We sat down, and Sebastian Alvarez turns around and he tells the owner of my company, he says, this guy right here loves paint. He absolutely loves paint. I can't turn on Facebook without looking at paint from Jim Chapman. You know, the point he was getting across was that was my passion for it. It wasn't fake. It wasn't I was pretending I was happy in my job. I actually love paint. Go figure. I know I'm bored, but I do. I love paint and I love color. So I started listening to other people, and that was kind of a consistent thing. Everybody would always talk about how passionate I was about what I sold, and that I believed it. I had many customers tell me, you know, the best thing about you, Jim, is we don't think you're lying to us. It may or may not be the truth, but you believe it. There's no doubt about it, and I don't have to, thank goodness. But when I would look on Facebook and I would see people put on there, I'm looking for paint. You know, someone would comment and they would say, call Jim Chapman, he's the paint guy. Call Jim Chapman, everybody would have that kind of paint guy thing. So it's important, and I highly recommend that you find a hashtag for yourself. You find your moniker. Some people call it hashtag, some people call it a moniker, but something that you're kind of known for. For me, it's your go-to paint guy. That's something that I came up with because I am everybody's go-to paint guy that I'm around, and hopefully they tell their friends, hey, call my paint guy, and it sticks. It's got a little catchy deal to it. So when you go to my Facebook page, you'll see, and I have one set up for my business and one for my personal, and it's Jim Chapman, your go-to paint guy. Your next YouTube sensation was one that Tracy was promoting recently. So those are good examples. Yeah, I love it. So those are good examples of finding that for yourself. It's very important that you have something kind of behind your name that says who you are. And the only way you're going to find out what the perfect hashtag is to listen to the people that you actually do business with and actually do business with you. They'll tell you without even knowing it. And it won't be an embellishment because they don't realize they're doing it. So that is a great tip and something that everybody, I would recommend everybody do. Find your separation factor. So I found my separation factor, and then I'm like, now I got to get out there and actually, get known. I mean, Farrell-Calhoun paint was kind of picking up. We're fast forwarding in time here. And the internet is really getting popular. It's getting really popular with business. And as we're all these are well-known industries that media that we all deal with. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube are probably the top 5 for business-related purposes. I'm just going to kind of go through these and give you all an example of some maybe where your specific industry would key into these certain sites. So Instagram. Obviously Instagram is a visual site. Instagram is great for Jim Chapman because I do paint. Everything I do is visual. I want you to see paint on the wall. It would be perfect for Miss Alvarez, wherever she went or is. There she is. Miss Alvarez, headshots. I mean, everybody, it's nothing but visual. I was sitting here thinking at the table because, it's kind of how my brain works, but I'm like, I wonder how Miss Alvarez could maybe get people to promote her and promote them at the same time, because it's all about helping other people. And, it would be great if she told her clients, hey, look, when you get your realtor sign and it's got your headshot that I did on there, I want you to send that to me, and I'm going to put you on my Instagram. Show a picture of. But guess what? It's got that person's phone number. It's got that person's name. It's got, so you're promoting them. At the same time, you're promoting you because you took the beautiful picture. That's just one example. But Instagram is a fantastic avenue for a visual type job. Tracy, a little bit tougher. Can be done, but Tracy is more numbers. So with Tracy, Facebook would probably be her go-to platform, but even more than that would be YouTube, because when you're dealing with numbers, you want to see the person and you want to hear the person. And she does some great YouTube videos that I've checked out. I'm not a huge numbers guy, but I watch her videos. They're interesting and she does a great job with that. So for her, YouTube would be a great option. Twitter started out, oddly enough, as kind of a way to follow people back in the day. I remember a friend of mine many years ago when it first came out telling me, man, there's this great thing called Twitter. You send a tweet, and if I'm getting off a plane, I can tweet, I'm getting off a plane in Omaha, Nebraska, and you'll know where I'm at. And I'm like, wow, that's great. It never occurred to me how big it was going to be way back then, or I'd have bought a bunch of stock in it and all those things, but I wish I would have now. But Twitter really took off with news. Livingston Parish News is a very active Twitter. Well, I don't know what you call it. Twitter user, yeah, I like it. So they're very, very active at that, and it's a great source for news. I don't use it a whole lot for business, but it is good to tweet out like little short tweets. Like if you're showing a house and you're a realtor and you say showing, XYZ house in an XYZ neighborhood, and then you hashtag it. So you hashtag Baton Rouge, or you hashtag Country Club of Louisiana if the house is in there, and those things will help. Hashtagging is like searching. So when you hashtag something, a lot of people ask me, why do you do that? Hashtag is basically so somebody can go to the top of that search bar and they can hit hashtag Baton Rouge, hashtag paint, and it's going to pull up paint in Baton Rouge. and it'll pull up everybody that posted everything and hashtagged it that. So that's something I did get a question of where hashtags came from. They're just basically search tools, but they have become monikers, like your go-to paint guy, for example. So these are the top sites. YouTube's great, Facebook's great, Instagram, they're all great, but you gotta have to figure out in your industry where you want to attack that relative to your social media. If you're a visual person, Instagram's your top choice. If you're more of a numbers person, you're probably going to have more success with Facebook and YouTube, but it can be done on Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's more of a business site. LinkedIn actually started out as a place to find a job and a place to post jobs. LinkedIn's really taken off where people are using it for a lot more things, so it can also be used and be used properly, but certainly these would be your top two. And where you want to attack to stand out. So next, you want to fill up your social media toolbox. So you've got your moniker. You've figured out where you want to attack. You want to be on Instagram. You want to get out there. You want to be on Facebook. Now, how do I do it? You know, I'm taking like 20 minutes to post a text and all those sorts of things. Well, the great thing is you have a whole toolbox here of things that you can use. These are ones that I recommend. I'll start at the top. Hootsuite's a management tool. So when I first started to promote myself online, I was literally going to Facebook and typing a post and posting a picture, and boom, it was done. Then I'd go to LinkedIn, then I'd go to Instagram, then I'd go to YouTube. It was ridiculous. It took me like an hour to post one thing about myself that, it was crazy. Hootsuite is a management tool where you basically go in, you write the post, you put the picture, and it's going to put it out on all your social media all at the same time. So you could have 10 sites on there, and it's going to post to every one of them at the same time. You can also schedule out in the future. So if you got one day a week on a Saturday, then that's all the time you have for your social media. That's okay. You can post everything for the upcoming week, put it on your management tool, and actually schedule it. So you're not doing nothing Monday at 8 o'clock, boom, there's your post. And I find that very beneficial because I do get busy with other things, and my social media will kind of back up on me if I'm not careful. So you've done all that, you've downloaded Hootsuite. Canva makes us all designers. It is one of the best tools ever for design. You want your posts to be pretty, you want them to look good, but you don't have a whole lot of computer experience. You can go to Canva, and they basically have templates where you can just put pictures on there, make them look pretty, you can flip them around. I'm telling you, it makes anybody look like a genius. So Canva, I would recommend. MailChimp, which is an email tool. This right here is probably one of the least used things I see relative to a key to getting yourself out there and people knowing who you are. What it does is it keeps your customers updated or your clients updated. Things constantly change. The interest rate drops, you want to send out a MailChimp and say, hey, guess what? Interest rate just went to 2%. Call Tracy at Key Lending Solutions, and she's going to sit down with you and get you fixed up on a brand new loan. Any industry this is good for. I don't recommend blasting people with it. I have a mailbox that gets full really quick, and the problem is some of my more important emails get knocked down to the point that I miss them every now and then. And the great thing about MailChimp is they have an unsubscribe button on there where they can simply unsubscribe if they don't want it, but it is a fantastic tool for updating people. Anchor, podcasting tool, my second favorite thing in the world to do besides talking about paint is podcast, and Anchor is an app that you can download that I use. You can literally take your phone, you can talk into it, and it sounds like professional, like you have a $5,000 microphone. You can add music intro to it, you can add a music outro to it, and the great thing about it is when you're done talking and you hit send, it'll actually put it on iTunes. It will put it on pretty much any platform you want. Spotify, another popular one, it does. And even on top of that, you get paid. You actually get paid every time someone listens to it because there's a little 30-second ad that Anchor has you do. It's called a pre-roll. And you just basically talk about Anchor and how great they are for 30 seconds. And the more people that listen to it, you get a little side change there. We all like that. So I would recommend that, really, if nothing else, ease of use. So easy to do. And it goes out to the major platforms like iTunes, Spotify. You can carbon copy that, post it to your Facebook, and guess what? Everybody's going to hear your podcast on loan rates. Yeah. So TubeBuddy is the last one I'm going to talk about here. TubeBuddy is something, if you're a YouTube person, it is basically an app that will allow you to search hashtags primarily. So what the big deal with YouTube is, you have to hashtag it correctly or nobody watches it. And in order to monetize on YouTube, you have to have so many subscribers and so many views, and it's way up there. But once you monetize, people have made livings, and I mean good livings, off of monetizing on YouTube. So TubeBuddy is something that if you're talking about paint and you hit the hashtag search button, it's going to tell you exactly what to hashtag it to get it to move up the YouTube feed. So we're talking about feeds. Here's where everybody misses the boat when it comes to promoting yourself online. The algorithm. So the algorithm is the evil stepbrother or stepsister or whatever. It is a computer program. And what this computer program does, and we're using Instagram in this example, is that computer program weeds out people that are inactive. So it's people that are on Instagram, but they don't really do nothing. It weeds them out. It weeds out bots. So there are actually computer programs around that will mass friend people, and they will mass follow people. And it's a way of weeding that out, because there's certain specific things you have to do on Instagram or Facebook, or nobody sees what you're posting. Nobody realizes this. I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, did you see that post I put on Facebook?" And I say, "No." And they said, "Well, I just put it on like 20 minutes ago." And I go look on my news feed and it's not there. But I go to their page and it's there. Well, that's our friend, the algorithm. Believe it or not, when you post something on Facebook, only about 5% of your friends see that. None of the other people your friends will see it. Only your most active people that you're the most active with. So yeah, if Tracy's going and she's liking everything I post, or the majority of, and I'm doing the same with her, she's going to see that on her news feed, because in Facebook's eyes, we're tight, we're friends, and I would want to see what she's posting and vice versa. But people that I'm not active with, maybe it's a long lost relative that you hadn't talked to in 20 years, it's not going to show up on their news feed. So they'll never know you actually posted it. Well, that's a killer when you rely on Facebook and Instagram to sell something or to promote your business. So there's ways to kind of hang with that algorithm. There are people out in that work for Facebook and Instagram that kind of go rogue, and they post these little hints on what they call the dark web. And they're actually legit hints, and they're ways to move up that feed without Instagram figuring it out, so to speak, or the algorithm anyway. One of those things, I'm gonna give you some of them, some of these hints, and these are important. Okay, this is to do with Instagram. So the first one, answer every comment left on your post. If people are commenting on your post, if Tracy posts something and I see it and I don't comment on it, or I comment on it, and then she sees I commented on it and she doesn't comment back and say, "Thanks, Jim, for the kind comment." Okay, Instagram eventually gets mad at you, because they're like, "Wow, well, these people are commenting on your stuff and you're just letting it slide on by." Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if it works if you just heart the comment, or do you need to comment?
Helps, and we're going to get to that. That's a good question. So you need to comment, and you need to, and that is just to bump you up Instagram speed. When you're struggling with Instagram and you can't figure out why you only have like 100 friends, and you're really trying to get that business up there, a lot of it has to do with you're not answering comments on your post. Instagram doesn't like that. You want to use proper hashtags. So if you're posting something, I always use paint because that's what I do. But if I'm posting something like sitting here today looking at a beautiful house in the country club, And they have beautiful Farrell-Calhoun paint. I'm going to hashtag Farrell-Calhoun paint. I'm going to hashtag paint. I'm going to hashtag Country Club of Louisiana. I'm going to hashtag Baton Rouge. I'm going to hashtag, Livingston Parish in my general area. And the reason I'm doing that is anybody goes up there and they hashtag Baton Rouge, my post is going to pop up somewhere down that line. And so if you don't hashtag it properly, or you just put a beautiful picture with get your headshots from me, and you don't post headshot lady or whatever, Alvarez headshots, the chances of people you want to see it decline. So you want to, you got to kind of think about what are some good hashtags for me. Post at least one story per day. Again, Instagram, Facebook, same way. And this is business related sites. So you've got a personal site, you don't have to do that on your personal site every day, but your business related site, you need to post at least one story a day, and that will move you up the feed. Stay consistent with your post. The second biggest thing probably with social media is consistency. People do two things. They either give up, so they do it for about a month and they say, man, this is not working, I must be horrible, nobody loves me, I can't get this thing to work, nobody cares about my business, and they totally give up. Or they're just not consistent enough. So they think if they post on their business site once a week, that's enough. It's really not. You need to be posting on your business site at least 3 times a week, minimum. My personal recommendation is once a day, because the more the better. You don't want to overload somebody. I probably am guilty of overloading people, but that's only because I love what I do so much and I find it interesting anyway. But you don't want to overload people, but at the same time, three a week would be a good medium where it's still going to move you up the feed. Nobody's going to forget about you and all those sorts of things. Comment with a minimum of 5 words on the post you follow, and use both words and emojis in comments, and that's to your question. Emojis are great. Emojis by themselves, not so great. It's okay. But what you want to do is you want to comment and put an emoji. So you want to say, thanks so much, I heart, emoji, I heart your comment. That would be a good way of doing that. Believe it or not, the computer program differentiates. And if you use less than 5 words, you might as well not have commented. A lot of people don't know that. It will not bump you up that feed if you just say thank you or thank you very much. You know why? Because people figured out to copy and paste on their comments, and they were sitting there and just copying and pasting. And Instagram said, we're going to make this a little harder on you. We're going to make you say 5 words. Well, believe it or not, it's kind of hard to come up with 5 words when you're just thanking somebody. So that's what that's about. Encourage engagements through polling and comment below posts. See, a lot of people do this, and this is actually something that is more active and that I see people actually do. They'll put like a story on there and they'll say, so what do you think, red dress or white dress? They're not really, most of them don't care if you want the red or white dress. What they're really trying to do is get you to engage with that post, because then you go way up. So you want to encourage engagement, because engagement shoots you up the feed even more. I did some testing with that, and I actually picked up about 500 friends in one day because I posted 4 engagements on my page. All of a sudden, people were friending me left and right. It wasn't because they were any less interested before. They were just actually seeing me now. That was on Instagram. So polling, same way. Comment below. Please comment below with if you think the interest rate is high or low. Those sorts of things. Encourage people to do something so they're not just looking at it. Quick tip. If you're trying to build your business site, never ever be shy about asking someone to go like your page. There is nothing wrong. I'm more than happy to like Tracy's page. A lot of people get shy about that. They just feel funny, I don't want to ask my friend. They should automatically like my page, and they never say anything. And believe it or not, you also want to not be shy about asking people to share your post. So important. Share the post. It's great if Tracy sees that I sell the best paint money can buy, but it's an issue if Tracy sees it and never shares it with anybody, because she already knows I sell the best paint, but her maybe 1,000 friends don't. And that's what I'm after. I'm after the people she's friends with. Tracy already knows I'm great, So do that.
So The terminology I get lost in totally.
Absolutely.
With Instagram.
Yes, a lot of
That
people do.
is-
Don't feel alone.
What is a story? Like.
Okay, so a story is at the top. When you're on Instagram, you have your page, and then at the top you have those little bubbles, and you'll see you'll hit on it, and it'll be somebody, and they might be smiling, and they're doing this, and it says 50% off or whatever. That is a story, and you can take your picture, for example. Let's say you took a picture and you put it on there, and they have an option at the top, and you can pick like a hashtag. So say hashtag Happy Friday or something, and you put it on your story, and it only stays up for 24 hours and it goes away. So some people don't want that necessarily on their business page, every day, where they have to go delete it or something for whatever reason. But it only stays up for 24 hours and it's gone. So that's considered a story. But a story people have to click on to watch. And that's where the engagement comes up. And that's what you're really after with that.
Versus a static thing on your page.
Right.
Just a photo.
Just a photo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little less engaging most times. So that's it.
Thanks.
Sure. My keys to personal branding. After all, that's what it's all about. From 2005 to today, I went from walking out there and calling on these guys, and nobody knew who I was, to Farrell-Calhoun getting the large business of the year for Livingston Parish, which was a huge honor for us. I actually probably increased my sales by $3 million a year, literally, with Farrell-Calhoun, and now. Newspaper guys are following me around. I don't know what. You can't get any better. But it took an extreme amount of hard work. But really, it was work I enjoyed, and it was just saying things that I did that they could get from me that maybe they couldn't get from anywhere else. The first thing is you got to be known as the expert in your industry. Absolutely have to be. This lady right here is a bona fide expert in what she does. I know I'm pointing around a lot today. It's because she's right in front of me. I'm not picking on anybody else, but I'm gonna tell you what, that lady right there knows her stuff, and I have full confidence in her. But she is known as an expert in her industry. You have to be the expert. People are not comfortable referring people or sharing your post when they're not sure if you know what you're talking about. So become the expert in your industry, and one way to do that is to promote, the things that you do know on Facebook, Instagram, and all those sorts of things. You want to share your expertise through videos and blogging. The main reason that I do podcasts and the main reason that I do blogs is because I'm good at one thing. I sell paint really good. I know paint like the back of my hand. It's all I've ever done. And I know that if somebody sees that I'm constantly posting stuff way over their head, eventually they're going to think I know something about it. Well, that's about all I know, but I know it pretty good. So you want to definitely share that through videos and blogging. Create a Facebook page and an Instagram page focused on your unique qualities and your brand. So you want to create a page that does not only promote key lending solutions, because they're great. They're the vehicle behind Tracy. But Tracy wants to promote Tracy with key lending solutions. So your pages should be set up as such. I made a big mistake when I first started this. I started a page, and it was entitled Jim Chapman Farrell-Calhoun Paint. Well, my company eventually decided they were going to spend some money, and they hired a huge advertising firm to basically build them a new website. We did all of it was great, except for I had Farrell-Calhoun Paint on my page, and before I know it, instead of it saying Jim Chapman Farrell-Calhoun Paint, it said Farrell-Calhoun Paint. Did not have my name anywhere on it. So I got a little upset. I said, wait a minute, that was my page. How did you change it? Well, guess what? Farrell-Calhoun Paint is not my brand. That's their brand. So I had to change my page to Your Go-To Paint Guy. And as much as they hated it, what they don't want and what they didn't want to risk is an employee, whoever it may be, going rogue, and then they've got actual control over that Facebook page and they just slam that company. And most big companies are like that. So if you do a business page and you don't currently have, make sure you title it with your hashtag or something like that instead of like a company name, because if they ever want to monetize that name or pull you off of there, they can do it, and all your friends and everything are gone from that page. So keep that in mind. Join networking groups and organizations where you can relay your message. Figured this one out late. Wish I'd have figured it out sooner. I've been networking for about 3 years. My life has completely changed since then. Similar groups to this. This is a fantastic group in order to network with and just talk to. And I mean, a bunch of strong women in here. And I was raised by one and I'm married to one, so I respect it. And I'll tell you, you know, Tracy brags about you folks all the time. And but it's organizations like this that that help each other. And when there's a business need, believe it or not, I guarantee you most of y'all would say, "Oh, call Tracy," you know, or you need headshots. I mean, Miss Alvarez is going to be the first person that they recommend, I'm sure. That's the same in any organization. I jumped into networking and really took to it. I've been the president of BNI, and what it helped me with was exposure primarily. Got my message out, but then things like this started to happen. You know, I got in the paper. That was something that I never did before, and I really started to figure out, you know what? I'm a brand. I'm a brand. They really like me. It's not just the paint. So then I started coming out with things like these are some examples I brought. So this is just a fan. It's shaped like I know it's cute. It's shaped like a brush. You know, I'm full of that. But guess what it has on it? It has my name and it has my phone number. And I hand these out at the Denham Springs High football games. And there's nothing more beautiful than seeing 1,000 people in a stadium doing this, and it says Jim Chapman on it. And I'm like, oh, this is lovely. So that's one of the things I did. Look, Mardi Gras, Louisiana, Mardi Gras cups with your name on it. I don't just have Farrell-Calhoun paint on there. I make sure Jim Chapman is on there. Something else I did, this was kind of a neat idea. So one of the things that I'm known for in the paint business that almost nobody else does is I actually answer my phone no matter what time of day it is. It could be 9 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to answer it or I'm going to call you right back. So I was doing a seminar for the Chamber of Commerce in Livingston Parish. We were trying to come up with something catchy, and I said, you know, I'm going to get some bells, and I'm going to put my name on them. I'm going to put Farrell on there too. But because I'm known for answering my phone and being able to get in contact with no matter what time of day it is, I'm going to put at the bottom, ring my bell anytime. So that's what I did. When I did the seminar, actually, the idea was, okay, every time the word paint comes out of my mouth, people had to ring their bell. And there was like 1 million bells and they were ringing. It was great. I loved it. So, and then finally, one of the best forms of advertising you can do for yourself, cheap. I mean, these are like $3 a piece for me to make. But t-shirts, man. T-shirts are the missing link for a lot of people. Guess what? Nobody throws away a t-shirt until it gets torn or it's too dirty to wear anymore. And of course, I got Farrell on there. And on the back, I'm not ashamed to put my name and phone number. And, you know, I've got your go-to paint guy right there on the back because that's what I want to be known as. I cannot tell y'all how many times I opened up Facebook. Did it the other day. Opened up Facebook, and there's a guy with my shirt on. Never seen him before, never met him. It was his wife had given it to him. I apparently met her or something. And he's mowing the grass. And it's got my name on the back. So he's a walking billboard for me. And it cost me like $3. I mean, you know, these, nobody throws away. Anytime you do swag, I'm addicted to swag kind of. But anytime you do swag, you want to do things that people can actually use and not throw away. Of course, networking is critical. It's a lot like nutrition and fitness. We know what we want to do. The hard part is making it a top priority. You know you have to network to pick up new business. You know you have to network to sell yourself and get people to know you. These are some wonderful organizations. You see the ABWA right there. Livingston Parish Chamber of Commerce, BNI, of course, Baton Rouge Chamber of Commerce, same way, great organization. Ascension Chambers, great. Kiwanis, Rotary, those are just some that you can be a part of. Also, you're giving back a little bit. And I think at the end of the day, that's important. Tips to better networking. This picture was from yesterday. This was at my BNI group, and all these people are smiling. They're having a great time. This was Tracy's 10 minute. A lot of you were there. We had such a fun time. But you want to find, if you're looking for networking groups, you want to find someone with great culture. There's nothing worse than being in a networking group and everybody's stuffy and nobody says anything and nobody laughs or smiles. You know, it's kind of hard to motivate yourself to go to that, you know, with any consistency. So you find a group that you fit in with and has a good culture. You want to make sure everyone knows what you do, very important. If there is not one person I come across in life that doesn't know I sell paint, and it's not like I walk up to them, hey, I sell paint, but I kind of work it into the conversation naturally. It's my life, it's what I do. It's gonna come up if you meet me. I'm sorry it embarrasses my wife. It's gonna come up. But you want to make sure that people know what you do, because if they don't know what you do, you may miss the opportunity to sell something. Never break trust, ever. The owner of my company gave me one word of advice when I went out on the road selling. He told me, do everything you always say you're gonna do. And I always have. And I'll tell you what, it's probably the best advice I ever got, and I never understood it when he told it to me. It kind of went over my head, but now I get it as I get older. Being friendly and outgoing to all those you encounter, obvious. And take on a leadership role within the group. What you were talking about earlier, get back to your group. You know, we all struggle with time, every one of us, but when you give back, sometimes you get kind of uncommon favor. I mean, things just happen in your life for the better. And so giving back is an important goal. I'll just close with this and then I'll let y'all ask any questions. As she mentioned, I do have some companies. Chapman Consulting is my main company. And what we do is we just go into your business and we kind of look at what you got and we make suggestions. You know, maybe you're doing everything right. And there's that one little thing that you can change to maybe get you where you need to be. I do seminars such as this, but they're dedicated specifically to one thing. Mastering Instagram is a good example. I have Mastering Facebook as well, Mastering YouTube. These are 3 programs that I started that will really get more in depth on what we discussed. Chapman's Paint Place podcast, that's kind of the vehicle where I get your name out there. So I'm an Amazon influencer. I also have some Google Analytics training, and I am a podcaster. So sometimes people don't necessarily want me to come in and kind of tell them what's going on with their business. They see that I have a following and they want to kind of piggyback off that. So that's where this comes in. I would basically just sit down with you and we'd talk about your business, and you would use my followers to your advantage. So you would basically say, you know, Jim, you influence it, you put it out on your social media, and they'll come. And so that's another service that I do offer. So I appreciate all y'all's attention. This has been awesome for me. I love talking about this stuff, if you can't tell. Any questions? Anything? I'm sure I probably blew y'all's mind right now. I see some people are like, what? Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment because yesterday at the meeting you said you had a referral to someone and you recommended a paint for their boat.
Yes.
I think that's phenomenal. A lot of people don't realize that's a pretty important thing, and that's probably why you're very popular in Livingston Parish, because everyone has a boat.
Everybody has. Everybody has. And you know what? I'm very blessed in what I do for a living. Especially in like a B&I setting where you pass referrals. Some people struggle because they do something that maybe it's kind of hard to find them a referral. There's some cases where it's just kind of hard to refer that person. You know, I have a bald head. I don't get a haircut. So if there's a barber in there, I'm likely not going to use them unless they do straight razor. But in my business, everybody paints. Everybody paints something at some time. And most people love decor. They love design. So they're kind of into it. But yes, and thank you very much. It is, I'm very lucky in that way. Yes.
Do you find there is a demographic difference between the applications, like Facebook and Instagram, and you know, of course, Snapchat is the 20-year-old, and
yes.
you know, if you're trying to target that one, do you post differently to one
yes.
social than the other?
That is a fantastic question, and I'm glad you brought that up because one thing we didn't talk about, I had to be careful of time, but demographics is something when you have a business page on Facebook. you know, Facebook is a very cheap form of advertising. One day it will not be. I can't believe it's not already $100 a post. You have to boost your post. If you don't boost your post, most people aren't going to see it. They almost force you to do that. But to the plus side of that, Facebook is cheap. For $7, you can boost that post to your, and the great thing is you can draw this down. You can say, I only want to show this to painters and builders and people that are interested in design, in my case. And it will not only show it to those people, I can pick an age. I can say, well, I want them to be 25 to 44, throw a number out there, and it'll do that. Then I can pick a geographic location, and it'll say, based off of all this stuff I just did, my post is going to be seen by 1,500 people. And you know what? For $7, I'm all in for 1,500 people to see it. And I have sold, I kid you not, a ton of paint off Facebook. A ton.
Where do you go for that?
You can go in when you go to the post, when you go to Boost Post.
Okay.
When you click Boost Post, it'll ask you if you want to choose your demographic.
Okay.
You click on that, and it'll kind of bring you through the steps. Everybody's business is different. So if you know, your age group might be a little different than mine. Now, when you're talking about different platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat's definitely a younger generation thing. I'm not a Snapchat guy, but if you're 18 to 25 and you're someone that does hair and you do, maybe you're the one that does it with the purple highlights and everything. I don't know. You know how the kids do. But you know, maybe that's an avenue for you. But for me, Snapchat wouldn't work, and so I'm just not that interested in that. But yes, you bring up a good point. Probably Facebook is the best for my age group. You know, I'm 45, so I'm not a young cat anymore. But at that age, Facebook is, you know, Instagram's a little younger for me than maybe my typical, but I'm also a visual person as far as what I sell. So I have to do an Instagram, and I enjoy it. Yes?
I am not a big Twitter person, but I'm a podcast junkie. And
Love it.
A lot of podcasters are really big into Twitter. And
Yes.
I'll go into their show notes and their guests, and I'll click, and they all have Twitter accounts.
Yes.
And you said that Instagram, you don't want to do emojis by themselves. Like in Facebook, you can do that. Like you can do 10 emojis by themselves, you know?
Absolutely.
But what about Twitter? Because most of those people are writers in Twitter. They're like newscasters.
Mhm.
It's more of a following of that
Yes.
category.
Yeah, and here's what I'm going to...
Because I've done emoji and nobody, you know, like, or something like that, and I always feel like, what is the protocol? It's not that I really care, but you know, you want to do the right thing when you're a rogue, you know?
Sure. You know, Twitter's a tough animal, because I'll give you a story about Twitter. Some of the stuff I post on Twitter I think is the most interesting thing in the world. Then I go look at the demographics on it, and hardly anybody's looking at it, or it's not the demographic I thought. I'm looking at the count of people that watched it, it's very low, and I'm like, I can't believe more people didn't watch that. But true story, my daughters listen to K-pop, okay, and me and my wife brought them to a concert in Houston, and when we were live at the concert, I kind of filmed the crowd, and I said, I'm gonna put this on Twitter, and I got like 6,000 views in 2 hours. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! I need to be posting about K-pop. This is crazy. But the interesting stuff that I talk about, everybody no one wants to see. Twitter's a tough animal. It is, and McHugh is a really good person, and I'm gonna actually borrow you, McHugh. I'm borrowing you for one question. How would you answer that question? What would you say?
And he's a newscaster.
Thanks for that. Good afternoon. My name is McHugh David. I'm the publisher and editor of the Livingston Parish News. As far as Twitter, actually Twitter has made my job very difficult. It's where people go for a lot of real-time news. It's where they go to interact. Twitter's evolution is kind of interesting. It started in the late 2000s, several years after Facebook. It was the Wild West at first. Miss Teresa knows my bride-to-be very well. She used to love it. She doesn't like it as much anymore. It's more, a lot of it is about personal interactions. It's also not a whole lot like Facebook in that it's kind of the Wild West. It's very hard to kind of figure out what people are talking about at any individual given moment. So a lot of it is people sort of being, I guess you can say, it's a stream of consciousness. That's the best way I can describe it, is that, I get on it a lot during LSU football games and throw my opinion out there, and then, try to keep out of arguments with people. It's that sort of thing. It's Facebook, but wilder, is the best way to put it. And it's more real time. That's why a lot of podcast guys like it, because it's your opinion. It's almost like a blog. It's almost like an ever-evolving blog. And you're just going out there, you're throwing stuff out there. There are hashtags, there are trending topics that you can usually, like what Jim was talking about, how many people were at that concert? A couple thousand? Minimum.
Yeah.
So you're in Houston, you're going to this concert, a couple of thousand people are probably tweeting about it. You jump in, and the people who wish they were there are going to watch that video. What you see a lot, especially during, I'll bring it back because I'm a sports junkie. A lot of times during sport events, those guys who are going to be tweeting about the sporting event are going to be doing it in real time. And there's going to be specific people watching them. It's very, very difficult, first, to gather an audience if you're not somebody that has regional draw. Twitter is not like Facebook and Instagram in that you can sort of cultivate these individual communities like you can on Facebook and Instagram. It's very much like business. The more you can scale it, the more following you're going to get organically. So a lot of these guys who, I'm going to try not to use another sports acronym, but for instance, a lot of these guys who are actors, right? They have tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of followers. Actually, it is, in terms of popularity and visibility, it's great for national journalists. Absolutely wonderful, because they can tweet stuff in real time and people are interacting with them, and it's great. Of course, me being a publisher, it's awful because it ruins our revenue streams on the back end because everybody gets their stuff ahead of time. But their stuff's scalable, right? They're doing stuff in DC, people are loving it, they're interacting with them, it's all great. Then they release the story, it's behind a paywall, they don't pay for it, they don't read it. I'm not bitter, I promise. So that's kind of your difference. In Instagram, Facebook, and to a certain extent Snapchat, you have a lot more control over, he talked about the algorithm, you have a lot more control over what's going on and what's being presented and how it's being presented and who it's getting to. Twitter is just kind of like, I'm going to scream out into the void, and whoever interacts with me. Now, I will tell you, if you build good interaction and you build, sort of a personal a brand on Twitter that is regional and has traction, you can develop that into business. You really can. One of the recommendations that I would make for anybody that is thinking about using Twitter, because it is great for personal interactions, it also gets great SEO, is to look for hashtags and trending topics that are relative to your business and start interacting with people, right? So if you're a CPA, there might be somebody who is a CPA coach that's constantly tweeting out. Tweet to them, ask them questions. That is the wonderful thing about Twitter, is that it's going to bring things free.
Content.
Exactly. It's a platform that you can use to brand your business. It is also content, as you mentioned, that you can constantly throw things out there, throw your opinion out there. I mean, I've tested a lot of business ideas in what I like to call the Twitter sphere, right? Because it is also the most harsh place in the world, I don't mind telling you. So you'll throw something out there, like you'll try something, you'll throw it out there, you'll see if it bites. If people start hating on you, well, maybe that's not the best thing in the world. You can always delete it. So it's it really. I mean, I'm sorry I talk fast because Twitter is very interesting. It's an interesting place. It is not as you can't cultivate it as much as some of those other platforms, but it is very much it's a blog, and it is a consistent stream of consciousness, and it's also, in my opinion, one of the hardest ones, because if you're a business owner, of course, you're always protective of your ideas. You're always protective of sort of that visibility, like Jim's talking about. That's part of what he is. I mean, he's visible as your go-to paint guy. But all of a sudden, you get on Twitter, and I mean, people are hammering you constantly, and you have to be constant. You have to be constantly posting, or you're going to lose people's attention. They're going to find somebody else to deliver what you thought you were delivering, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. See why I deferred to him on that? He's a bona fide expert on a lot of things.
Any
Twitter
questions?
club.
I didn't know if y'all could touch on that algorithm a little bit more, the Facebook, because I'm curious about, I remember when something came around talking about here's how you break the algorithm and
Yes.
your post.
Yeah.
But it looked like it was a link to something and I didn't click it.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with
Yeah,
that.
I just said I can't afford it, so I didn't click it.
Here's
You know what I mean?
Here's the thing with the algorithm. It constantly changes. Yeah, people figure it out now. It's not inexpensive to change that algorithm, so they're not doing it daily. But they do update it as they figure out, people are figuring out. I never quite understood that because I think at some point you just got to stop and you just got to let people do what they got to do to build their business. I mean, it's almost like you're trying to make it hard for them. But the problem is you've got bots and everything out there, and they're tricking the algorithm. You got people going rogue, and they're basically still working for Facebook or Instagram, and they're letting secrets out they're not supposed to tell. But to your point, if you stick to the common sense, what I would call the common sense stuff. So you want to interact with your audience, just like on Twitter, essentially, but it's not to that extent. McHugh's talking a very heavy extent of constantly interacting. With Facebook, you just want to make sure, if someone likes your stuff and they comment on it, it's just common courtesy to like what they say. I have several people, and I'll go back later and do this, but when I posted that I was here, I'd be speaking today, several people said some really nice things on Facebook. So I'll make sure later on to go back and like what they said, and then I'll also write a little comment. If it was someone that was here, I'll say, yes, great meeting you today, or something like that, because I mean it, first and foremost, but secondly, because it also shows I appreciate, Facebook, that I'm appreciating what people are doing, and so they're going to reward me by still keeping me, out there. It's weird. It's almost like they want to make sure you have manners all the time. So I would encourage anytime someone comments and things like that on your post, that you like those and you comment on them. And then also, make it an effort to comment on other people's posts. If you're struggling, if you notice a friend you used to see all their stuff and you're like, wow, they don't post anymore. It's not that they're not posting anymore. Maybe you haven't interacted with them in a while, and it just doesn't show you their post anymore. So if you want to start seeing their post, go to the page and start liking some of the stuff they posted. It'd be amazing. You're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to pull up your phone, and boom, there's that friend you ain't heard from in 6 months. It's crazy how that works. So that's a great tip. Yes.
So, I'm not exactly young.
Yes, you are.
I'm not either.
Wait a minute.
If you want to, so I get overwhelmed. So I have a business page, I have a Facebook page, and I have a VIP page, and then I'm on Instagram. But then like you said earlier, I get overwhelmed and then I just stop.
Yes.
So if I'm really wanting to focus on restarting myself and branding myself, what is the first thing that I should really focus on? Instead of I get overwhelmed because I'm having to do all
Absolutely.
of this.
The first thing you need to do, what we talked about here, was you need to find that thing about you that you want to brand. What is it about you that, everybody in this room, we have competitors. We have people that do what we do, but let's be honest, they don't do it as good as we do, but they do it. And so you've got to find that thing about you that you want to promote about you. When you tell people, undoubtedly, what is it you do?
I sell jewelry.
Okay, you sell jewelry. So there's something when you're, Saturday Night Live used to have the guy, and he would look in the mirror and he'd say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, whatever his name was. I used to laugh at that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Stuart, thank you. Stuart Smalley. So the thing is, you've got to find that thing about you. Why do people want to buy jewelry from you? Well, there's reasons, and those reasons are your trick to basically marketing yourself and finding that thing about you that you want to put out there. It's not as hard as you think. Most times when you listen, you'll hear it really, really quick. It may just be your way. It may be, who you are. It may be the fact that you know more about gold and silver than anybody else on God's green earth. It could be all kinds of things, or it could be a combination of them. The one thing I struggle with when I sit down with people is they're like, well, tell me why people should buy from me. And if I don't know them, I can't tell them. they have to be able to tell me, and the only way they can tell me is by listening to what people say. It goes both ways. When your business is for that too, and if you listen, you'll find that and you'll fix that. So that would be my advice. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.